Today is the 14th of November. And I'm going to make a short video on a book that I recommend. I think I'll set up the precedent like this. I don't trust authority. I mean, sadly, it's kind of mistaken, but it is the way it is. I don't trust our government. I don't believe anything they say. I haven't for a long time. And anybody, there's some people watching this who understand precisely what I'm talking about. They hide things from us. They don't tell us about things. And they have their own agenda as to why they do it, right? Does that make me a conspiracy theorist? Call me whatever you want. But the government repeatedly lies about all kinds of stuff. You don't think they were lying about what just took place about a year ago with a particular airborne infection? Yeah. That's what I have to say. But anyway, I don't investigate a lot of things. There's probably some things that I probably should have investigated for whatever reason, personally, just to understand things. So this was a book given to me by my pastor. It's called Moon Man by Bart Sibrel. I would really recommend you pick this book up and read it. It's not a real thick book. It's only about 200-something pages. It almost reads like a James Bond novel, to be quite honest with you. Right? Pick up this book. Go get this book and read this book. And you tell me if you think we actually landed on the moon. Now, I have a friend or two who's going to think that I lost my mind. But see, here's the thing. I am open-minded enough to entertain the silliest of notions. And after I read this, I started to look at the moon landing after I read this, I started to look at the moon landing very logically. Through a logical perspective from the time when it happened. And I'm not a space dude. I mean, I like science fiction and all the things that go with it, but wow, this is an eye-opener. But I'm going to say this. Nothing in this book shocks me. Nothing in this book shocks me. I highly recommend you read this. Now, this guy, he made 2 documentaries. He wrote two of them called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, and a second part to it, Astronauts Gone Wild. He refers to these movies that he made several times in the book, and he has a website that he mentions. It's his last name, Sibrel.com or something, where you can watch various clips to prove his point. But part of this book, one of the interesting things is how the CIA came after this guy. Now, the truth is, if we really went here, why would the CIA come after you, right? Now, the truth is, the guy could be full of it. But you need to read the book. You need to read the book. I'm not one who reads a lot. But this one really, it's a simple read. It's not hard. But if the first 3 chapters the first chapter doesn't get a hold of you, I don't know what will. So, what am I saying here? I recommend this. Anybody who suspects that the world isn't quite what we have been led to believe needs to read this book. And read it with an open mind. Have, at the very least, man, don't close your mind to things that they tell you and they tell you to take for granted is true. Don't believe all the scientific narratives. We live in a time where there are scientists that are now telling you that gender is a social construct. I mean, I want you to really think about this. We're living in a time where it says, well, gender is fluid, when it wasn't like this 20 years ago. We're living in a time where there was a time where it said that life, all life, it doesn't matter if it's a sea urchin or a pine tree or a blue whale. There was an agreed consensus that life began at conception, because when the DNA of two individuals combined form a new individual, where all that individual's various physical attributes are determined the minute contraception happens. Okay, that's an indisputable scientific fact, but we have scientists now who want to disagree with that because it fits a social and cultural and political agenda. I want people to be independent thinkers, not people that are brainwashed by media. You should never believe everything they tell you. Don't believe everything you see on television. Don't believe everything the talking heads spit out of their mouths on TV every day. I mean, every day you see it. The nonsense, the talking points that they get. You know, the latest one now is Trump is Hitler. You know. And you got to, so that's all their talking points. They're spitting that out left and right. And I said in a previous video that I was going to recommend a couple books, and this one kind of got thrown into my lap, and I really highly, highly, highly recommend that you get this book and you read it. Some people aren't going to be surprised by it. And here is something that, and when I talk to my pastor about this, we have really good conversations. I talked to him. I said, well, I think we landed there. I don't have a problem. My big problem is, why didn't we ever go back? Because it never made any sense why you don't go back. If you have such a monumental achievement of landing people on the moon, how come you never gone back? Right? Well, this will explain why we never went back, because we never went there in the first place. And it makes a very logical argument. Every time there's a significant technological achievement that mankind achieves, it's repeatable, and the technology improves to do it better. Give you a simple example: the Wright brothers. They're the first guys that more or less kind of got a craft off the ground, and they didn't get it off the ground real high or real far, but right after they did that, boy oh boy, the technological improvement exploded with manned aircraft. So here's another simple one. It took a lot of attempts for people to get on to Mount Everest before. A lot of people died getting there. After the first person gets up there, it becomes easily achievable. And now you got people going up there. It's like a park, right? So why, logically ask you this, why haven't we been back? Why haven't we, with improved technology, gone there? Why don't we have bases there now? If you've often asked yourself that question, you need to read this book. I got a little tiny YouTube channel. It isn't anything fancy, right? I use it for myself. I use it to more or less kind of catalog my own life, so the people closest to me can look back at it once I'm gone and say, hey, Uncle Rick was pretty interesting. He was this, he was that. That's all. I don't monetize anything. And it's funny because I've got like close to 600 subscribers, but I only get like 30 people who watch these. That's what I find is interesting. Why do you subscribe to somebody and you don't watch their videos, right? Yeah. So anyway, so this is I know I stuck this thing out here a half a dozen times. I'm parked in a nature preserve at the moment on a nice day. I was going to do this outside, but I got some sketchy characters kind of hanging around here, and I'm just kind of keeping my eyes. It's damn near impossible for me to get to some place to avoid people. That drives me crazy. If I want to go to a nature preserve to get away from people, I had to drive a long distance just so I can park somewhere where I don't have somebody next to me doing something. So anyway, check out this book. Pick it up. I'm sure Amazon sells it. Or maybe they don't. But boy, oh boy. This wasn't written too long ago either. I think 2021. Let me check it real fast. See what the publishing date was. Yeah, 2021. So it's written recent. I'm telling you, man, if you're somebody with an open mind, if you just have an open mind, you just want to read if you think it's an interesting story. Look, everybody should challenge how they think, right? Everybody needs to challenge their thinking and their paradigm. I've been forced to do that due to the experiences I've had in my life. Most people don't. Most people get up, they eat breakfast, they go to work, they come back, play with their kids, send their kids to school, worry about how they're going to pay the bills. Look, I get it. I understand all that. But somewhere in your life, you need to start realizing the reality as we know it is not quite what the powers that be have forced upon us, okay? And I'm not telling you to take a big stretch of the imagination. I think the big stretch of your imagination probably should realize that whoever is in power, whoever's controlling things behind the scenes, whoever is manipulating data and media and stuff, they don't want you to know the complete truth of everything. Oh, you might get a little snippet here and there, but you're not going to get the real truth behind everything. Pay attention to people who talk like I do. Don't believe everything they say. Be skeptical. I'm not saying believe everything that you're told or you hear or whatever, but I'm just telling you, be skeptical of what comes out of the mainstream and start and do your own investigation on things. I'm biased. I got my own biases, right? I do. But I try to challenge myself to look at things that may counteract my own biases, and I try to look at them with logic and reason and understanding, and try to look for evidence to back up either my own point of view and my own bias, or to refute it. And I'm man enough to admit that I've been wrong on a lot of occasions, but I also am willing to stand by the ground of the things that I think are important to, that. Look, I think we can all pretty much agree that we live in a world that's being manipulated by governments and by leadership and by power brokers, and are taught come on, man. I just named some examples of what you see going on in our world today. I will be 59 in a month, okay? And if I can go back to my teenage years, if I can go back to the 80s, right, and then somebody would have told me that they were going to normalize this thinking that men can be women and women can be men and vice versa and everything else in between, I would have told you that you are completely out of your mind. But look where we are. So on that note, I'm going to leave it and leave you with that one thought. Pick up this book, give it a read, and if you read it, please leave a tell me in the comment section. I'd just like to hear somebody's thoughts and what they think of it. Till next time.